Hello. I did this. I filmed, honestly. Hello and welcome to my first YouTube video where the camera is still shaking. Today I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour, which I have filmed 2 times already. One where I spoke and I didn't like the way my voice sounded, and the other one where I didn't speak and I didn't like that either. So we're back at it with the third attempt. Here is my bookshelves. So I have 1, 2, 3 and 4 and kind of 5. We'll talk about this later. Mainly 4 shelves of books organised by genre. So I have fantasy, dystopian, and then like random manga, and then crime and thrillers, and then classics and love. But before that, a quick history of my bookshelves. What you're seeing now is my original bookshelves where I just put the books that I already had together at the very start. Then I moved on to doing rainbow shelves, which were aesthetically pleasing, keep all the colours together, but had some difficulties as often, you know, colours would overtake, like I had more blues and oranges, and I didn't want to split series together. So to solve that problem, I thought I'll put my series together on a shelf, but even that was annoying, and I just eventually moved all of them into what they are today, to the genres. I'm going to go through each shelf and I'm going to show you on that. I'm not going to point out every single book. Majority are in red, so I'm not going to point out every single book and pretend like I know what I'm talking about when I haven't read it. But I'll point out some of my favourites or some of the ones that I'm most interested in reading, and hopefully you enjoy the video. So onto the first shelf, we have my fantasy shelf. And this is where I keep all of my, I've not just said that. So on the first shelf, I have all of my fantasy books. I don't organise by like YA or children's books just because I don't have the room for it. So I prefer to organise just by genre. So over here I have retellings. I have not read any of these. I do really want to read Heartless, which is a Alice in Wonderland retelling about the Red Queen. And then Gilded, which is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, because those are some of my favourite fairy tales. And then I also have Bloodmarked, even though I don't have Legendborn and I haven't read Legendborn, but I believe that is a retelling of King Arthur, I believe, so I've just put it here. I might be wrong, but I've just put it here. I will get Legendborn because I do actually want to read it, and this looks really interesting. I don't have many, but I have 5, so you know, I think that's pretty good. Then we have the start of my fantasy. So I have Lightlark, which I really want to read this, and I posted on my Instagram story about how badly I wanted to read this book, and you know, Alex Aister actually saw it, so super proud of that. I'm really excited to read this. I started it and then I just had a lot going on, so I just DNF'd it and started reading something else, but what I read was really good. And then I have some more books. I have The Six of Crows, which I bought and then found out that you need to read like another series before it, so that will stay as a TBR on my shelf for a long time. And then I have Sarah Jane Maas. I actually read this book, and very, very, very sad book. I did cry. I was emotional. And then I have some more books. I have the Percy Jackson series and the continuation. I've read the Percy Jackson series, absolutely loved it, amazing. And then I bought this one. And then when I got this one in, I was very surprised because I was expecting it to be like as thin as Percy Jackson, and it was a thick boy. Like, look at them, they're so thick. So, and I get put off from reading thick books, but you know, anything for this series because I absolutely loved this series. So I just know I'm going to love this series. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And then finally, I know this is technically a dystopian, but I don't have room for it on my dystopian shelf at the moment. But I have Shatter Me, which I recently read Shatter Me, and the only thing I can say is, where is Aaron Warner? Because everyone said Aaron Warner, and then I read it, and then Aaron Warner appeared, and I was like, this is not what I was expecting. But I'm definitely going to continue this series because it's really good. So yeah, that is my fantasy and retelling shelf. Then continuing on to this shelf, I have a continuation of fantasy. So I have the entire Harry Potter series. I even have a special edition of the Philosopher's Stone. I wish I'd have got The Prisoner of Azkaban because it's my favourite Harry Potter book. It's the best one in my opinion. Nothing outdoes this book. I also think it's the best film. Unpopular opinion. But yeah, I have that. I do actually think this book's very pretty, and it does have like sprayed edges like the Gryffindor thing. It was like my first sprayed edge books, and it has like, you know, it doesn't have anything under the cover though. That's kind of boring. Look at this. But it has, hold on, let me just get to it at the back. It has like little details on it. It has this at the back of it, which is kind of interesting. And it has like House of Common Room, like things that you don't get in the normal paperback editions. I think this is, yeah, and it has like artwork. And then I always have The Cursed Child. I have heard so many bad things about this book that I want to read it so bad to see how bad it is. But yeah, we'll have to find out. This is like just a boring edition, to be honest. And then on top of my end of my fantasy, I have my Kindle because I'm currently reading The Cruel Prince. I did actually DNF this basically because I just couldn't finish it. I didn't really like it. But I do like my Kindle. I haven't read on it much, so maybe I am lying about liking my Kindle. But it's really good. It's so tiny and compact. I don't have a case for it yet. I need to get a case, to be honest, but yeah. Then continuing the shelf, I have all of my dystopian books. So I have Scythe. I've read these two. I haven't read this one yet because look how thick she is. The book is so thick that I'm kind of put off. And then I have Gleaning. So I have the entire series. And then I have The Maze Runner. First of all, this cover is so ugly. Like, who thought this was a good idea? But I actually watched the major motion picture and I absolutely hated it. So I bought the book to see if the book's better. Because usually the book's better than the movies. And I know that it is a sin. I know that it is a sin to watch the movie before reading the book, but I did it anyway. Then we have, in my opinion, the best trilogy of all time, The Hunger Games. Obviously, I have all three. I have these editions. They released like a more colourful edition, but I just don't think it matches the vibe of the book. I think this one's my favourite. I'm going to reread them at some point and then I'll come back to you on that, but you know. And then I'm currently reading the prequel to the best series ever, and I'm just over halfway done. This is amazing. Over here we have the final dystopian book, which is, of course, The Handmaid's Tale. This book is so good. I read it for school. It was amazing. If you're going to read this, don't pass up on the historical notes, because I nearly did, and they are just amazing. It is an amazing book. 110% recommend. I want to read the Testaments. I don't know if that's... Yeah, I want to read the Testaments, but I've heard from a lot of people that they say it's like a money cash grab. And I do like... Oh, I don't want to spoil the ending. If you haven't read this book, skip like 10 seconds, maybe like 30 seconds. I like the ambiguous, is that the word? Ambiguous ending where you don't know what happens to Offred. And I've heard that in the Testaments that kind of gets ruined. So I have an Oxford Dictionary from 1999, I believe. And then I stupidly thought, I was like, dictionaries are not outdated. They are. They've added to this since. I heard it on the radio. So I have an outdated Oxford Dictionary. I'm not going to get a new one because it'll do the trick whenever I need a word. And then I have I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy, a real person book that I really want to read this year. And also the cover, like, iconic. And I've heard this book's like really sad, obviously, because it is a real story. I have this beautiful edition of the Grimm's Fairy Tales. I want to put this in my retellings, but it doesn't fit on the shelf. So for now, it's just here, but it's beautiful. It has all the Grimm Fairy Tales in. Obviously, it does say the complete Grimm Fairy Tales, so you'd hope so. Now we get to my like mangas and then my crime books, my thriller books. It's a mix of like adult and YA thriller. I have Death Note. I have 4 of Death Note. There's 6. I'm going to collect all 6. I watched the anime before I read the book, which I know the biggest book sin you could ever do, but I still did it anyway. I'm not really into mangas because there's like 50 of each story, but there's only 6 of Death Note, so I'm going to complete Death Note. Then moving on, we have like my thriller and crimes. We have the Inheritance Games series I really want to read. This series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, is so good. Absolutely love it. Like, amazing. Like 10 out of 10. Then I have some more popular books. You know, How to Kill Your Family, Thursday Murder Club, This Lie Will Kill You. And then I have my Karen M. McManus collection. I love her books. I even have the collector's editions of One of Us Is Lying and Nothing More to Tell, and then all of her paperbacks. And One of Us Is Back comes out soon, and I'm very, 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 very excited. I will say these collector's editions, like, they are beautiful. They are so beautiful. Like, they are beautiful inside and out. Like, so beautiful. Like, I can't describe how beautiful. The best thing about Karen M. McManus is that most of her books have sprayed edges, and they're just amazing. And the covers are so, like, Look how nice these covers are. My favourite book out of Karen McManus is One of Us Is Lying. I do also like One of Us Is Next. I really want to read this. I've only read these 3, and I want to read these 3. I'm going to read this one at some point, and then this one because I've heard great things. And this one really was like my least excited, and then I saw Real and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to read you. And then finally onto the last shelf. So I have my classics, and then this is what I'd call like my random book collection. I have a lot of popular books such as Daisy Jones and the Six, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, They Both Die at the End, The Midnight Library, Lessons in Chemistry, Twilight, you know, a bunch of popular books. I also have this series. Now, if you were around on YouTube in like 2014, everyone bought this series, including me. I bought this series, obviously, because I have it on my shelves. But I've never read it, and I still have it like 10 years later, so yeah, I don't know if I'll ever read it, but I still have it. They might have to move soon for other books. I've also never read Twilight. I might have to do a reading vlog on Twilight because I want to watch the films, and I've learned from my mistakes of watching things before reading it. I have other popular books, and then some more popular books. This is probably the one that I'm most excited about reading. Like, it just sounds so good. And then I have all my classics. I have read Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, Christmas Carol, The Great Gatsby, The Inspector Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Picture Dorian Gray, and then I have read Streetcar Named Sarah and Night. Love classics. I feel like classics are like, you know, you either love them or hate them, and I do love them, to be honest. This one, however, I don't know if I'll ever read. I got gifted it, but look how thick it is. Like, thick books put me off. And Jane Eyre, I only got like halfway through because it was not my favourite classic. Sorry, Jane Eyre fans, but also have, mostly I have the Penguin editions for all of them. And then I have like a couple like Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, Hard Times. This Hard Times novel, look how nice this is though. And it's smaller than a normal book, like, but it is so cute, and it also has sprayed edges, and like, look how tiny the font is. It's just so cute that I want to read this tiny little book. Edition, which is like, I don't know what edition this is. The cover of this is so boring. My favourite classic is probably Frankenstein or The Picture Dorian Gray. My least favourite classic is possibly Jane Eyre. But I do find that they take a lot longer to read. Like, I read The Great Gatsby, and look how like skinny The Great Gatsby is, and it took me like a week, and a normal book usually takes me a week. So, and then on my very bottom shelf I have my 2 newest books. So obviously I have The First to Die to the End, which is, as you can see by this horrible sticker, a prequel to the global hit They Both Die at the End, which I haven't read, so I obviously won't be reading this next. And then I also have another very popular book, Yellowface. Amazing things about Yellowface. This is just like, when I get new books, I'll put them here. So yeah, that is my bookshelves. That was probably a really boring video because it was literally me just showing you books. But yeah, I wanted to film this for the future videos because I probably will reorganize it again. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. This might be successful. If you're seeing this video, it means my 3rd attempt at filming this bookshelf tour was successful, and the camera wasn't too shaky, even though it is very shaky, obviously. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.